I'll help you with that later on, Jam.
Okay.
Or if you can send me a screenshot.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I can see that we're welcome everybody. Brian Tarian from the Disability Digest. We are going to be starting our YouTube live in about 4 minutes. So sit back, relax. I'll be right back with you. Good day, everybody. This is Brian Tarian from the Disability Digest. Welcome to our Wednesday live session. Thank you for participating. We're doing things a little differently today rather than just looking at my face. I have a new system where you can see the screen and I can present some information. And hopefully you'll get more out of these events. So just a heads up that there is about a 10-second delay from the time that I say this until the time that you get this. So if you enter a question in chat and I don't respond immediately, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It just takes a moment for the communication to go back and forth. So anyway, welcome. I hope you enjoy the show today. So today I'm going to go through some expectations, what you can expect going through the disability approval process, what you can expect when you're awarded. And I see Michael just put in the chat that he has been awarded. Good for you. So I'll address your question there. And the reason why I'm tying this in and doing this is in prior weeks, I've covered information on these events about how to explain that you qualify, what you need to prove to get your benefits, what you need to prove to keep your benefits, doctor's support, how to get it, what to do if you can't. Last event, we talked about doctor's notes, like reviewing your doctor's notes. So hopefully with all of that information, you'll be in a great position so that you can get your benefits and keep your benefits. So that's what we're going to go through here today. So if you're new here, joining us, welcome. We do these events most Wednesdays, and they're geared towards just providing you with big picture information to help you get your benefits, hopefully approved fast, because we've learned a lot since we've been doing this since 2006. And also to keep your benefits and to maximize your benefits. Those are the three key things that we work on. And if you haven't joined us as a member, of course, we encourage you to do that. There'll be a link with the replay after this where you can come in and join us or update us as a member, and then you can get information that is relative to your own personal situation, like a customized approach to getting your benefits, right? So let's get going on with the show. Oh, one other thing. We're going to definitely take time to answer some questions today that you have. Like I see Michael's got some questions that he's put in there. So that would be great. And while I'm getting going and starting the show, it would be helpful for me to understand where you're at in the disability approval process. If you would simply just put in the chat one of the following numbers. One is you have not applied. 2, you have applied and you have unfortunately been denied. 3, you've applied and waiting, or if you're like Michael, you have applied and you have been approved. So if you would do that, that would help me kind of go through and tailor my presentation. The first thing I'm going to go through is Social Security disability approval expectations for people that are going through the process. Right now, it's an interesting time with Social Security. So I want to help you understand that. And then I'm going to go through what you should expect in your award letter, what is in your award letter that you may have reviewed and that you forgot and that you should know. And then we'll get on with your questions. So right now at the time of this event, Social Security has the most amount of cases in its system. It's a backlog that people estimate to be around 1.1 million cases. So the figures for the approvals that I'm going to go through with you are still impacted by this backlog. But I'll give you kind of a best case, worst case scenario at each stage going through the process and their respective approval percentages. So what you're looking at on the screen is the 5 different steps of the approval process. These are the 5 different levels that you can get approved at. The first one this should be obvious to most, I hope, is the initial application. When you submit your initial application to Social Security, there's a 36% chance that it will be approved. And this is the national statistics from Social Security that I've covered in other videos, mostly in the budget. Social Security says that you should expect about a 5 to a 7 month time frame to receive that initial application decision. But because of this backlog and the short, and the reduced staff that Social Security has, we see people that are at the 14-month mark, 16-month mark, that still haven't received an initial decision. Okay, so you have to exercise some patience. So that's expectation number 1. 2, if you've already been through that and you're at the next step where you've appealed your initial decision because you didn't get approved, and you're at what's called the reconsideration level, you can expect about the same amount of time to get through that level as well. The 5 months could go all the way up to, the 14 to 16 months. And the approval percentage at that level is 13%. So it's not very high. And some of the theories and reasoning behind that is somebody within Social Security is reviewing somebody else's work that's been done on your case and basically saying, you didn't do your work right. This should have been approved. That's commonly. So that's why I think it's low. If your case goes to a hearing, so it's denied at the reconsideration appeal level and it goes to a hearing, this is step number 3. There's a 51% chance of getting approved at a hearing. So if 100 people go to a hearing, 51 of those statistically will get approved. If it gets denied at a hearing, you can appeal it. It goes to the appeals council, which is basically saying the judge made a mistake. There's a 1% approval there, and then it can go into federal court if it doesn't get approved at the appeals council, and there's a 1% approval percentage there. So that kind of gives you the approval process and what's going on. So let's continue to roll it forward. Once you've been approved and you're approved at any one of these levels, you will receive a letter like this. Let me just want to look in here and see how many people have been approved so I can kind of work on my conversation here. Like Michael, I see some 2s and 3s. Okay. All right, great. Thanks for doing that. All right. So for those of you that are not approved, this is a letter you're looking for. It'll say in the top left, notice of award. That's ideally what you want to get. And I have blacked out this information because this is an actual award letter. So as we go down through the award letter, the next thing that you want to look at so you can anticipate and expect how to handle your insurance is you want to look at these dates up here that says you are entitled to monthly disability benefits beginning in October. Okay. Now, this next line down here says we found you were disabled under our rules in April. So what happens here is there's a 5-month elimination period from the time that you became disabled. It's a 5-month waiting period. Those 5 months, you don't receive any benefits. So your benefits don't start in this situation, in this example, until October. So that entitlement date where it says entitled to is important because it's 24 months from that date that your Medicare eligibility starts. Okay. So some of you may receive an award letter that, you've already been 24 months into it and your Medicare is going to be eligible right away. And others, maybe you got approved at 10 months. So you've got another, 14 months to go. But it's the entitlement date and 24 months from that that's going to determine your Medicare eligibility, right? A few other things that are down here. Your responsibilities, if you're going to go back to work, if your condition changes, Social Security has this written in here, and these have been the same for years. If you are thinking, well, I didn't have that in my letter. As long as I've been doing this, it's been pretty consistent. So you want to make sure that you're aware of what's in your award letter so that you follow it. Benefits may be taxed. If you don't agree with the decision, things to remember. This is another important one. This is a big topic now. If in the other work that I've done, the disability benefit reviews that are under this, things to remember for the future. What's happening right now is about 20% of disability applicants, recipients annually are being reviewed. And the budget right now that is in place with the money that's being spent and the number of reviews and all of the statistics shows that about 50,000 people within the next 12 months will have their benefits removed as a result of a review. So you want to understand when your review date is. You don't want to wait until like the year before your review date to follow the steps that you need to do to keep your benefits. My message to you is, for good disability insurance, is make sure that you stay tuned in to the work that we do here so you understand the steps that you need to take, like the big picture or condensed version of what you need to do. We've covered in some of the prior live events. Make sure that you get locked in on those, on understanding what to say to prove that you're disabled, getting the right treatment, getting the right doctor support, understanding how to review your medical records, all of those things. So just one example is, if you've been treated with your doctor and you're not reviewing your medical record and they're showing that you've had medical improvement and you don't feel that you have, their records are inconsistent with what you're feeling, and Social Security reviews your medical records, you could have a problem. Okay. All right. So those are some of the highlights and what I wanted to go through with you. I hope you found that section of our presentation helpful. I'm going to pivot, and I have the questions on another computer here, so I'm not running away from you. I just want to make sure that I get to these. Okay, so Michael got approved on the 7th. And for those of you that have joined us, feel free to put your questions in the chat feature, and I'd be glad to answer those. All right. Approved on the 7th, back pay. Okay. So if you were, I don't know if you went to a hearing, Michael, and if you went to a hearing, that's going to be different. And let me explain that in the approval process. So I'll go back to my screen here where I had the stages and what you can expect for payment. If you were approved at the initial application, oftentimes you get paid before you see a notice in your MySSA account or the letter has arrived. And that could also happen here. If you go to a hearing, then there's a two-step process. The first thing is the judge will write a letter that's called a decision letter. And that decision letter will provide his decision that you are approved for disability. Then within 30 to 60 days after that, you'll receive the award letter, which is what I just reviewed with you. And that award letter will have your date you are disabled, your entitlement date, and all of that. And it will have a payment information, which is also in this. So I blacked out didn't black out, but I put a graphic where the payment information is. So for Michael, it depends on what you were approved, what level you were approved at is going to determine generally when you're going to get paid. Now, there's some other things that might influence that. If you had a workman's comp case, or if you had collected SSI or welfare during that period, it takes longer to compute your cash benefits because you may have been paid some cash benefits through the process. So there are some variables, outliers to that. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's see what the next question is. Been approved since March. I've not yet received any information or letters. Should I be calling them? So March, April, yeah, usually 60 days. I would call and Mark, if you, okay, so Mark, if you were approved at a hearing, I would call the hearing office. And you can find that number by going to your notice of hearing in the top right-hand corner. There is there's a number there. And if it wasn't at the hearing, then you should have a caseworker that you have communication from. But for sure, usually within 60 days, you should be paid. All right. I have a phone hearing coming up next month. Okay. Lana, I think we've set you up with this, but the phone hearing, there's specific tips that you should have for that, that we encourage you to follow, which is, you know, make sure that you're in a quiet room, there's nobody else around. Some of these are provided by Social Security. There isn't any distractions. You're not going to have somebody mowing the lawn outside your outside your room that you're in. And but for preparation, there is there's several things that we provide in the Wait for a Hearing course that you've been getting. But the one that I view to be the most important is the one that breaks down the questions that you're going to be asked. So I'd make sure that you have that. If you don't, just reply to support and we'll send that specific lesson back to you. Because if you know the questions that you're going to be asked and how you should answer those consistent with other information that's been provided in your prior application, then it's going to be super helpful for you to increase your approval odds. So good luck with that. Okay, I just went to the doctor last week and I'm thinking since the doctor was so short with me, I'm expecting a decision of a denial. Well, I believe you went to one of their doctors, and I understand your feeling. This is Jeanette. Great question. But keep in mind this, these doctors that Social Security hires to do an independent medical evaluation are paid like nothing. Not nothing. They're paid, I think it's like $25 to $40. It's not a normal office visit. So they do these, and you're not going to get your typical 12-minute office visit with somebody like this. They're in and they're out. I don't know if you followed the 7 steps that we provide you if you're a member going through and using our disability approval course, but if you had done that, then it would definitely have held them accountable to do a proper evaluation so that you know, they know that they're being held accountable to do their job. So, but don't be discouraged. Really, ultimately, it comes down to the evidence and what's in your medical records, and that's just one piece of it. Great questions today. If there's more, keep them coming. I've got a few more minutes here. Okay, so this is from Fred. Fred writes, "Hi guys, I just had my hearing. Judge said, no doubt I'm disabled. How long until I get a letter?" Well, if he told you that in the hearing, then I would say within 30 days, but we have to factor in it's Social Security and there's human behavior here. I mean, if the judge went out on holiday for 2 weeks right after your hearing, then that's going to delay the process. But that's good news. Good for you. Let's see. I don't have a lawyer yet. Well, if you want to get approved, you don't need a lawyer. I mean, we teach you how to use our disability approval course, which doesn't cost you anything. You can manage your entire case on your own, and thousands have and been approved without paying the legal fees. So, all right. This is from, I have TBI, which is 11.18 in the SSA. Okay, approved limitations. Curious your opinion on likelihood of a reconsideration approval. I'm going to have a drink first before I answer this one. It's just water, folks. This is from BJ. Great question. The Social Security listings or Blue Book are definitely beneficial in helping you get approved. My opinion and the challenge that I see with them is that, okay, so you have a TBI, it's 11.18. So if that is the determining factor of limitations, which I don't know specifically, but if 11.18, if you look in the limitations and it says that if you have a TBI and your limitation is between 10 and 20, for example, and you're 11.18, then that's like a slam dunk. Then if you point that out in your paperwork and your documentation and your doctor's support, then you have a significant probability of getting approved. The challenge with the listings is like, if you have, like they have listings for autoimmune conditions, they have listings for bad backs, and somebody can have a similar condition, but their limitations from that condition are going to be different than somebody else. And it's how those limitations impact your ability to work and how those are documented. So again, where I'm going is that individuals have different responses to the limitations, and it's not a sure thing that just because you see that your condition is listed, that it meets the qualifications to get approved. I hope that ramble was helpful. What impresses me is that, you are doing the work and you're actually digging into the information out there, which will help you, because one of the key things is understanding the process. Okay, want to make sure I stay in line with these questions. This is back to Jeanette, who went to the doctor. One thing I didn't understand is the doctor said we have to get you qualified. So is there a doctor actually working to get SSDI or not? Well, it could be what the doctor believes, that you are definitely not able to work and that you qualify for Social Security disability payments, which that's ultimately, if that's what you're looking to get approved, then that's good news. Okay, Michael, they didn't show me any information about back pay amount or monthly payments. Okay. Well, that would be in your award letter, and you don't have one yet, if I recall. Okay, here's one. I appealed my dad's Social Security disability denial on April 2022. My dad had to move, so I used his new address in his appeal. Will that hurt our case? Shouldn't. You can, Social Security is a federal program, so you can do this anywhere. So it's just moving from one Social Security office to another. All right, Lana, you are welcome. Had a phone interview. I was told I would have no problem getting approved. Oh boy. Doctors, nurses are already on my side. Test last month. I'm waiting soon. Okay. In Arizona. I think that's great. The challenge, if you have a phone interview, is they haven't seen your medical records. And you can tell me or Social Security whatever you want. But unless it's documented in your medical records and it's easy for Social Security to understand, then you're going to have a difficult time getting approved. In my experience, people fall into two categories for not getting approved. One, they don't qualify. They think they do, but they don't. And two is they qualify, but they don't go through the process properly. They have this false sense of security. And again, here, I'm not saying that you need to hire an attorney. We have a course that you can do this all on your own with, which would be fantastic. But point is, whether you do it on your own or whether you have somebody do it for you, it needs to be done right. And let's say that your limitation is in your medical records and you have 400 pages of medical records and it's on page 398. And those medical records go into Social Security. Do you think they're going to go through with them being short-staffed in a million cases right now? Are they going to go all the way back to page 398? I don't think so. I think they'll skim through the brief to look at some of the recent doctor notes, and they'll go from there. So that's my point. In that I've had people. I just had an individual the other day. I'll keep her name generic, but she's 64 years old and she has terminal cancer, and she was denied. 64 years old, terminal cancer, denied. So she's on chemo. It's just one of those things. I've had others like John Green in Long Island that we met him after he went through the initial and the reconsideration. He had stage 4 cancer. He had been denied at those two. And he passed away before his hearing came up and he had a chance to go in. So, man, if it was perfect, folks, I'd be talking to you about something else today, because I'd be glad to do something else for work. Changing address hurt your appeal? No. Similar question. 11 point. Okay. Oh, I see. 11.18 is the blue book. Gotcha, BJ. Okay. My attorney said my case is in the decision writing process. It's been there for 50 days since my hearing. Will I get a decision soon? Well, when the case leaves court and they start working on it, I don't know exactly what he is considering the decision writing process, but I think from the time it leaves court, it is the decision writing process. So in fairness, though, some of these decisions are extremely lengthy and super detailed. Really, a lot of thought goes into them, so it does take some time. Tough to speculate. Again, it's usually like 30 to 60 days after your hearing. All right, we've got a few more. Where do I find SSA adult approved limitations? I don't know what that is. So I don't know where to direct you. Adult approved limitations. Are you talking about like the blue book, the Social Security listings? That could be. All right, see here, I got denied in April of 2022, appealed online yesterday with a new address. All right. Hopefully you appealed, you put some new evidence in there and you looked at the reason why, you didn't get approved. And so hopefully you did something like that. Okay. Appreciate it. Very knowledgeable. Okay, great. Super questions today. So that is going to wrap up our program here today at the Disability Digest. And if you like the work that we do, which we certainly hope you do, we invite you to come back. We'll be here most Wednesdays. Week of the 4th, July 4th, we will not be. Again, subscribe. Ring the bell. If you know somebody that can benefit from this information, give this, YouTube replay a share. And if you're in a situation where you're a member here and we haven't heard from you in a while, we encourage you to update your membership. This is all we do is help people keep and maximize their benefits. So we find new resources all the time. So there may be things that are new that are out there that you don't know about. Maybe you're still paying for your phone bill. Maybe you're paying for your Medicare Part B premium and you don't need to. Could be other things that we've found out there that are helpful for you. Or again, if you're new and you haven't joined us, then certainly we invite you to come on in. Just click the link, complete the evaluation. helps us understand where you're at. So I wish everybody well. Thanks. In closing, thank you for spending your time here. I hope you found this format of the event more beneficial. I'd love to hear your comments like, yeah, it was better. I hope it is better, because otherwise you were just looking at my face for 35 minutes and seeing the screen and doing that. So, and any comments we can do to improve. So thanks again. Make it a great day. This has been Brian from the Disability Digest.